103.4 Sun FM.
Start with you then, Neil. It sounds like a very stressful job you've got there.
I love my job.
So tell us a little bit about this research, because, it's that time of year. It kind of gets darker a lot earlier, and it's darker earlier in the morning too. And all this kind of relates to whether or not you get stressed, doesn't it?
And absolutely. And this research conducted by the Sleep Council was fascinating in the sense that it showed that about 90% of people that responded to the survey said that they were stressed, and 3/4 of people said that they struggled to get a good night's sleep.
Does it differ much from the national figures when you look at the North East in particular?
Well, the one thing that we found about the North East, which was a particular anomaly, is that 83% of people said that they suffer from sleep disorders, which is much, much higher than the national average. So we've been racking our brains to try and figure out why people in the North East are struggling to get a good night's sleep and suffering from sleep disorders.
When you say sleep disorders, are you talking insomnia or all different kinds of brackets of that?
Yeah, there's many, many different things, including insomnia, things like night terrors and nightmares, nocturia, which is frequently needing to get up and go to the bathroom. Now, I have some theories regarding why people in the North East might frequently need to get up and go to the bathroom and suffer from sleep disorders, and it might have something to do with the link to alcohol consumption. We don't have any records or kind of statistics on, what parts of the UK drink more alcohol, but from my experience being up in the northeast, I know people do enjoy a glass or two, which might lead to some of these things that we're describing here.
Neil, are you calling us all a bunch of drunks? It's probably people who come to visit the northeast that add to the consumption of alcohol. Yeah. Jessica, tell us a little bit more about this information then, because as we say, we're looking at the northeast, in particular Sunderland. I mean, it's a city by the river, by the sea, and it seems a bit odd that people are finding it difficult to get a decent night's sleep here.
Yes, it's always very difficult to understand why there are regional differences. And it is interesting not only that the North East and Sunderland display the highest number of proportion of people with sleep disorders, but also only 21% of people in the North East said they were good sleepers, compared with slight higher figures nationally, more like a third or a quarter to a third who say they're good sleepers, which is still low. I think it may be the further north you go, for instance, you have a longer period of time in the dark in the winter. Now that can be associated with sort of reactions to darkness. We know from our survey on stress that the winter months are a particularly stressful time. We've talked about Sleeptember being Stresstember because that's almost like the start of a rise in stress levels as people come back from their summer holidays. The days are getting shorter, the nights are getting longer, the clocks are going to go back shortly. You've got worries and stress building up towards Christmas. And the winter months are high stress periods. So, perhaps for people, in more northerly climes, this has an impact, the fact that the dark days are longer.
September, I suppose, in particular, Jessica, is because it's a time when a lot of kids go to school. Parents have those extra added worries, whether that be, their child going to a new school or, as you said, financial concerns over the uniforms, all kinds of things. Yeah,
it definitely seems to be the start of the stress calendar in September as people do start to cope with these sort of issues that can put pressure on finances. It's a change in life, kids starting school for the first time, changing schools, going off to university. It's a time of change, and change in itself is sometimes something that people do stress about.
Then, Neil, as founder of the Stress Management Society, you must know exactly how to deal with stress and how to tackle it and make it less of a stressful day ahead of you.
The first step is recognition, knowing that when you're under pressure and stress, that's having an impact on your ability to cope with the challenges life's throwing at you. What that looks like, what are those signs and symptoms? What does it look like mentally, physically, emotionally? And when you're recognizing you're in a state of stress, knowing what action you can take to minimize that impact. Simplest things, often yield the biggest benefits, whether that's taking a little bit of time out to go for a walk, removing yourself from the environment that causes stress. If you're at work, go outside, get some fresh air, go get yourself a glass of water, getting a good night's sleep. Sleep and stress are so closely associated. Poor sleep is both a symptom and a cause of stress. So it's really important that we take the time to wind down, that we do things that we enjoy, spending time with our family, exercising, social activities, all of which help to relieve and alleviate those symptoms of stress, and also switching off and unplugging. Most of us are plugged into our technology from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, and that relentless pace and pressure of modern life is pushing many people, frankly, over the edge.
I know there's science going on at the moment studying this, but that's an interesting point you raised there, Neil. And I suppose, Jessica, is something that we'll be looking into more in the future, whether or not actually it plays on the way our brain waves work, on the amount of technology that we're surrounded by nowadays.
There is an increasing body of research that is quite concerning, I think, in terms of what impact all our electronic devices are having on our bodies physically as well as mentally. I mean, obviously the lifestyle changes of being constantly 24/7 connected is having an impact on people. It's having an impact on their social skills. It's certainly having an impact on their sleep amount and quality. But the research is also indicating some more fundamental things in terms of blue light emitted from these screens, or just the electronic magnetic waves that you get from electronic devices. So many more of them than we've ever had in the past. And as the research comes out, I think we'll be seeing more to concern us and more to certainly make sure we banish them from our bedrooms, which should be a perfect sleeping environment, not the bridge of the Starship Enterprise.
Neil, we're all a bunch of drunks here in the Northeast, so would a change in our lifestyle habits, our drinking, our feeding and our smoking, I suppose, for some people, would that really de-stress people too and help them with a better lifestyle?
Now, firstly, I'm a little bit afraid to come to the Northeast for what people are going to think of me after making that statement, but there's something that we do need to clarify. The things that we are most likely to turn to when we experience stress are alcohol, nicotine, refined sugar products like chocolate, biscuits, cakes, sweets, and caffeine, tea, coffee, etc., or, cans of energy drinks. All four of those substances are stimulants. People often pull me up on alcohol. They say, Neil, alcohol is not a stimulant, it's a depressant. Well, actually, in small quantities, alcohol is a stimulant. Alcohol is known as a biphasic substance, which means it does two things depending on the quantities you consume. When you are stressed, if you're about to be attacked by a saber-toothed tiger and you go into the fight or flight state of stress, your heart is pounding in your chest. Your body's produced substances like adrenaline and cortisol. Your breathing becomes shallow and fast. Your muscles are tightening up. Your body is in a physiological state of high stimulation. You are highly, highly stimulated. When you're in a highly stimulated state, if you put in more stimulants, guess what? You don't get relaxed. You get more stressed. So the things that we are turning to alleviate stress are actually making the situation worse, not better. So again, I'm not here to preach to anyone. If you're out with friends on the weekend and you're relaxing and have a few glasses of wine and some chocolate pudding and a cup of tea at the end, that's your choice. But turning to these things to relax, you're wasting your time and your energy because they cannot possibly give you that result.
Brilliant. It's lovely to talk to you both, and I have to cut this short here because you've got a live interview now, so I'll let you get off and do that one. But Jessica and Neil, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Take care
you.
now. Bye.